Hello everyone, welcome to Himalaya online classes. In this video, we are going to start with defense technology. So what should we study in defense technology? First, we need to know what are the safeguarding forces or safeguarding mechanism. Okay. Then next we need to know weapons of mass destruction, for example, nuclear weapons and its export control regime. What are the international mechanisms for this export control regime? Then next is mechanisms to deal with the terrorism. What are the India's efforts and what are India's efforts and what are the international mechanisms available to deal with this terrorism? Then we need to study missiles. What are the different types of missiles and what are the missiles available now? And what will be the anti-defense anti-missile mechanisms for those missiles. Okay, what are the mechanisms which can deal with this missiles? Then next one will be defense equipments and technology. What are the current defense equipments which are in use now and related to technology related to that? Then next one is what are the indigenous projects which are going on right now? For example, Project 75, Project 17A. So what is that indigenous projects which is happening in India? So we need to have a fair idea on that. Then operations under defense and important developments. So what are the operations? So Indian Armed Forces will carry certain operations. So what are those operations? And recently, this is related to current affairs. So there were many operations done by that. So recently, what operations Indian Armed Forces carried out and other important developments. Okay. Then next one will be finally it is defense exercises. Okay, keeping this in mind, first, we are going to study safeguarding mechanisms. Okay, what are the safeguarding mechanisms available to India? Okay, if India had to be protected via land, so we are protected by army. Okay, Indian Armed Forces we can classify into three main forces, that is army, navy, and air force. Okay, so we are protected through land, through army. We are protected through water. Okay, from threat from the water. Okay, we are protected that if the threat is coming from the water, we are protected through Indian Navy, and if it's through air, if we are protected via Air Force. Okay, three main armed forces: Army, Navy, Air Force. These three forces, along with the Coast Guard. Okay, all these three forces, all these four forces comes under Ministry of Defense. Ministry of Defense. Okay. Then each and every force will be having their own chief: Army chief, naval chief, as well as air force chief. Okay, please try to know their names. Who is the chief of army, chief of navy, and chief of air force? Okay. Then as we know that President of India, so the first citizen of India, so he is also a supreme commander of all these three forces. Okay, Indian Armed Forces supreme commander will be our President of India. Okay, so this is just a very basic details. Then next, coming to the current affairs, this is the Chief of Defense Staff. Chief of Defense Staff. So who is the first Chief of Defense Staff? Please try to know the name of first Chief of Defense Staff. Okay, so Chief of Defense Staff, so what happened was recently a department, okay, fifth department was created in Ministry of Defense. Till now, 4 departments were there. Fifth department was created, that is Department of Military Affairs. Okay, Department of Military Affairs. This department will be headed by this Chief of Defense Staff. We can say there are defense staff and he will be the chief of that. Means here we need to know the joint manship. So why we had to create this Chief of Defense Staff means to create a joint manship. Okay, so what happens is, so if this joint manship is there, means then there will be a coordination among army chief, naval chief, air force chief. Okay, the coordination will be there, negotiations occurs, and decision making will happen properly. Okay, so a proper decision making happens, and if there is a joint manship coordination in that, means then advising to the government of India, advising to the Ministry of Defense will be very easy. Okay, so it is more easier more easier when advice is advice is given by a single man. Okay, single man, which consists of opinions of all these three forces, instead of giving okay individually individual advisor from these three forces. That is why we wanted to have a cordial and jointmanship here. Okay, that is why we had created this chief of defense staff. Okay, this, what is this? Tri-service effectiveness and overall combat capabilities of India. So we need to improve overall combat capabilities of India, and we need to have effectiveness in this tri-services. Okay, so why this is important means this is very important to deal with the hybrid warfare. Okay, so as we have seen in today's warfare is no more confined to conventional warfare. So conventional warfares were fought during World War One, okay, World War Two, nuclear weapons. Okay, but today, if we try to rely only on conventional warfare, conventional battlefields, we go and we take these arms and we fight over there, means that is purely wrong. Okay, hybrid warfare means the threat can be in any form. It could be technological warfare, it could be biological warfare. Okay, so it could be using artificial intelligence, it could be data, it could be cyber attack. Okay, there are multiple ways a country can wage war with another country. Okay, so that is why that is called hybrid warfare. So when such kind of situation is there, then we need to have we need to have a quick decision making capabilities. Okay, so take quick actions and to prevent any catastrophes. So that is why to deal with present situation we want joint manship. Okay, and apart from if you take India is the largest democratic country. Okay, so apart from India, so even P5 countries, okay, permanent members of United Nations Security Council, even those countries has such kind of integrated staff. Integrated staff, it is present in those countries. So India was lacking behind that. Now even India is also having this chief of defense staff. Okay. Then coming to his rank is he will be the 4-star general. Okay, 4-star general. So initially it was thought that chief of defense staff will be given as rank of 5, that is 5-star general. Okay, but as okay, army chief and navy chief and air force chief, as like Manoj Mukund Naravane, Admiral Karambir Singh, okay, Rakesh Kumar Singh Badoria. So in the same manner, even the General Bipin Rawat also has been given the 4-star general. Okay, if we talk about the highest rank in India, it is the 5-star general. Till now 5-star general has been given, the rank has been given only to 3 members. Okay, 3 people. One is in 1973 Sam Maniksham, and in 1986 to KM Karyappa. Okay, these two were from Karnataka. These two were field marshals in army, and these two were given the 5-star general. Apart from that, Air Marshal Arjun Singh. Okay, so he was given this 5-star general. Okay, till now only these 3 people had got 5-star general. Okay, but now, so as army chief, navy chief, air force chief, even the chief of defense staff has got 4-star general. Okay. Then what will be his term? His term will be 3 years. He will serve 3 years or until the age of 65 years. Okay, until his age of 65 years he will serve. And after he is serving as chief of defense staff, he will not be doing any okay, he will not be taking any job in either in private or government one. Okay, and next one is, so he will be the head of military of he will be the head of Department of Military Affairs. That is the 5th department under Ministry of Defense. Then apart from that, he will be the chairman of Chief of Staff Committee. Okay, Chief of Staff Committee means chief of this defense staff committee is there, no? So that committee he will be the chairman. Okay, then he will be the member. Okay, member of Defense Acquisition Council. Defense Acquisition Council is the highest decision making body when it comes to the acquisition of defense or any capital related to defense. Okay, defense equipments or anything related to that. Okay, Defense Acquisition Council. This Defense Acquisition Council will be headed by Ministry of Defense. Then next one will be Chief of Defense Staff will be also member of Defense Planning Committee. Okay, Defense Planning Committee will be headed by National Security Advisor. Please try to know who is our National Security Advisor right now. Okay, the Defense Planning Committee. So what is the main role of this Defense Planning Committee means? So this Defense Planning Committee takes comprehensive planning for security of India. Okay, then related to defense forces, if any emergency situation occurs, if there is any threat to India, security challenges are there. So for all that planning, okay, for planning purpose, okay, this Defense Planning Committee takes the role. Got it? No, Defense Planning Committee headed by National Security Advisor. So Chief of Defense Staff will be the member of this Defense Planning Committee. Okay, this Defense Planning Committee was made in 2018. Okay. Next, military advisor. So he will be the military advisor to the Nuclear Command Authority. So Nuclear Command Authority is the authority which commands, which controls, which takes operational decisions related to nuclear weapons. Okay, nuclear weapons. So this Nuclear Command Authority is headed by our Prime Minister. Okay, this Nuclear Command Authority will be having two council. One is Political Council and another one is Executive Council. A Political Council will be headed by Prime Minister. Just know that this authority will be headed by Prime Minister. Okay. Then a military advisor, he can't be the member of Nuclear Command Authority. He will be the advisor, military advisor to this Nuclear Command Authority. Got it? No. Then see this demand, okay, to create Chief of Defense Staff, integrated staff. This demand was not very new. This was since we waged Kargil war in 1999. So from that point of time, we had the requiring of this Chief of Defense Staff, because when Kargil war occurred, there was no, what we discussed, joint manship, that coordination, okay, that we lacked. That is why we could not take quick decisions at that point of time, okay, during this Kargil war. Then we realized our mistake and we wanted to create a integrated defense staff. So as a result of this Kargil Review Committee, integrated defense staff was created in 2002. Okay, so integrated defense staff was created. What occurs here means, here it is the here army staff will be present, navy staff will be present, air force staff will be present, Ministry of External Affairs, DRDO, and all such related to security of India. Okay, all such staffs will be present, will come and discuss, and they will take a decision like that. However, this was headed by secretary. Okay, there was no rank, there was no position, okay, position who has to head that. But now formally we have created. Okay, so previously I told that Chief of Defense Staff also heads this, okay, integrated staff, defense staff. Got it? No. So remember that Kargil Review Committee recommended this. Then apart from that, Naresh Chandra Committee recommended to have an integrated defense staff, and Chief of Defense Staff should be there in 2012. Okay, DB Shekatkar Committee, very important committee in the defense field. So apart this committee has given many recommendations. In those recommendations, one was to create this Chief of Defense Staff. Okay, please remember these three committees: Kargil Review Committee, Naresh Chandra Committee, DB Shekatkar Committee. All these three recommended to have Chief of Defense Staff. Okay. The next one is Coast Guard. Coast Guard, okay, under Ministry of Coast Guard also comes under Ministry of Defense. So Coast Guard, this is the guard which takes care of guarding our territorial water as well as international water. Okay, if we take, so it is the one which takes care of maritime security, we can say. Okay, maritime security here. So when we wanted to see till where this Coast Guard can take care of patrolling duties, or maritime operations against the threat of terrorism, so we preventing the terrorists coming via water. Okay, so then coastal securities, safeguarding that, all those operations will be carried out by this Coast Guard. Okay, so this Coast Guard security extends even till exclusive economic zone. Okay, so we need to know what is this exclusive economic zone, till where this Coast Guard can do the safeguarding mechanism. Okay, so here from the baseline, if we take the baseline, so what is this baseline? Baseline is the intermediary between the high tide zone and low tide zone. Okay, high tide zone and low tide zone, there if we take, that will act as a between the high tide and low tide is the baseline. So from the baseline, if we take 12 nautical miles, okay, that will be called as territorial waters. Okay, it is territorial, it is the India's territorial water. 12 nautical miles from the baseline of India is the territorial waters of India. So what is 1 nautical mile? 1 nautical mile means 1.8 kilometer. Okay, so and from the baseline, if we take 24 nautical miles, then that will be called as contiguous zone. Okay, contiguous zone means 12 plus 12 here. Okay, 24 nautical miles. Then exclusive economic zone means from the baseline, if we take 200 nautical miles, then it will be regarded as exclusive economic zone. Okay, exclusive economic zone, not just here, not just in this coastline, we have very large coastline, no? Okay, try to know that number. Okay, how much coastline we have apart from this main India land. We also have in Andaman and Nicobar, there also exclusive economic zone, and there it is very very important. The role of Coast Guard is very important. Why? Because there Strait of Malacca is there. Okay, Strait of Malacca, a very busy zone, busy strait for the trade and other you know other activities in the international arena. Okay, then coming to here, Lakshadweep is also there. Okay, so here we need to know what is the extension till where this Coast Guard mechanisms can work. So mainly Coast Guard takes care of this maritime security operations. Okay, so Coast Guard comes under Ministry of Defense. Remember this. Next one will be the forces which comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay. So first one is Assam Rifles. See, now Assam Rifles is the only one which is regarded as paramilitary force. Okay. So Assam Rifles, this is, we can say Assam Rifles is the oldest for created force. Okay, in 1835. So during British era only we created this force in 1835. So oldest of all we can say. So what is the main role of them? To guard the northeast India as well as to guard India Myanmar border. Okay, that is the main role of Assam Rifles, to give security in the India Myanmar border. Okay. Next, coming to the other forces, that is, these forces initially they were called as paramilitary forces, but from 2011 onwards they are called as Central Armed Police Forces. Central Armed Police Forces. These 5 forces all comes under Central Armed Police Forces. Okay. This the first thing here is Central Reserve Police Force. Central Reserve Police Force. Okay. Central Reserve Police Force. Central Reserve Police Force was created in 1949. Okay, this was created in 1949. For what? For guarding. Okay, for guarding India-Pakistan border as well as India-East Pakistan. At that time, East Pakistan, no, West Pakistan and India's East Pakistan border. It was safeguarding over there. Okay. However, as well as it was taking care of internal security also. Okay, against the insurgents in the internal India. So, however, when we waged war with Pakistan in 1965, we felt that we should have a dedicated force which should guard India-Pakistan border as well as India-Bangladesh border. Okay, so that is why we created a special force for that. That is Border Security Force, BSF. So BSF was created when it was created in 1965 in the wake of Indo-Pakistan war. Okay, so now it is dedicated force which guards India-Pakistan border as well as India-Bangladesh border. Which one? Border Security Force. However, Central Reserve Police Force is the one which will give security in the internal India. Okay, so for example, against the Maoist activities in the Chhattisgarh, Dandakaranya region. So all those regions against internal insurgencies. Okay, so there CRPF will give the protection. Okay. Then next, coming to the Indo-Tibetan Border Force, ITBP. ITBP was created in 1962 in the wake of this Indo-China war. Okay, so ITBP is the one which guards the border of Indo-China as well as India and Tibet. Okay, Indo-Tibet as well as Indo-China border will be guarded by Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force. Okay. So recently there was a news that Assam Rifles will be merged with the Indo-Tibetan Border Police Force. Okay. So why it had to be done means the Assam Rifles is the one which guards Indo-Myanmar border, right? So these forces, these are paramilitary forces. Okay, these forces are drawn from Indian Army. Okay, and these forces are also headed by Indian Army chief. Okay, Indian Army head of the the head of this Assam rifle will be from the army only. Okay, so here we can say that operations, if they wanted to carry operations, they had to take the guidance of Indian Army. Means it comes under Ministry of Defense. Operational, okay, operational control of Assam rifles is under Ministry of Defense, we can say that. Okay, however, its administrative control, if we take, means appointment or whatever related to administration of this, it is related to the, it comes under Ministry of Home Affairs. Okay, so working with the two ministries, okay, then there is a we can face a situation of lack of coordination. Such situation can be faced. So to avoid that, so what Union Home Minister had decided was, let us merge Assam Rifles with the ITBP. Okay, so if we merge them, then Assam Rifles, it will come under a single ministry. Okay, and even here Assam Rifles, can be used for guarding the Indo-China as well as Indo-Tibetan border. Okay, and even ITBP forces also can be sent to the can be sent to the India Myanmar border. Okay, so that was a proposal. Okay, please follow that. Okay, Assam Rifles merging with the ITBP. Okay. Next one is Central Industrial Security Force. Central Industrial Security Force, CISF. CISF. So this is the force which creates security to, which gives security to the airport, okay, to the industries, to the private organizations, private institutions. Okay, so they had to pay the fees and they can take the security from this force. And there was a recent news related to Central Industrial Security Force. One was Securitypedia. Okay, Securitypedia, like how we have Wikipedia, no? So in the same manner, there was a Securitypedia. Okay, here Securitypedia. This was created by CISF, like how we have Wikipedia, which gives information. Okay, so information, right? The Securitypedia contains information related to the security. Okay, so how security will be given, what all the mechanisms they will be carrying on, all that information, it will be available in the Securitypedia. See how Wikipedia can be edited, even Securitypedia can also be edited. Okay, Securitypedia. Apart from Securitypedia, CISF also created CISF. Okay, CISF tube. CISF tube, like how we have YouTube, in the similar manner, CISF tube, which will upload the videos here. Okay, so this is the current related information. What it know? Next we have this Sashastra Seema Bal. Okay, Sashastra Seema Bal is a force which guards India Nepal border as well as India Bhutan border. Okay. So this was created in 1963. Next one will be, if we take here. So if you ask me the question, is there any place where all three forces, okay, armed forces, naval forces as well as the air forces works together? Okay, works together means yes, there is a facility for that. That is where is it? In the Andaman and Nicobar. Okay, Andaman Nicobar Command. If we talk about Andaman Nicobar Command, this is the first and only tri-service theater. Okay, where all three forces will work together and it will be headed by one person. Okay, so command of Indian Armed Forces, which is based in Port Blair. Okay, remember this, it is based in Port Blair. Okay, first and trilateral service here. Okay, and next, there is a current affairs related to here. Okay, recently Danex DANEX 19. Okay, DANEX 19. So what is this DANEX 19? DANEX 19 means it is a joint service exercise. Joint service means all Navy, Air Force, and Army. Okay, all three forces will come together and will perform a defense exercise. Okay, defense exercise where in Andaman and Nicobar. Okay, this was the second version of this DANEX. Okay, remember that this is the joint service exercise which occurred in Andaman, Nicobar. And we have placed INS Baz. Okay, INS Baz, INS Baz. Okay, INS Baz. What is this INS Baz? This is the southernmost air station of Indian Armed Forces. Okay, southernmost air station of Indian Armed Forces. Where did we place this? We have placed this in Campbell Bay. Okay, please locate Campbell Bay in the map. Did know? Okay. So next, moving on to, we will see this armed forces. Okay, AFSPA. AFSPA. What is this AFSPA? AFSPA was introduced in 1958. Okay, Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Okay, this was the Act, Armed Forces Special Powers Act, where these armed forces, existing armed forces, will be given special powers. Okay, why it had to be given the special powers? Okay, special powers had to be given to deal with the situations which occurs in disturbed area. Okay, some areas can be regarded as disturbed area. So why that is disturbed area? Because there are there are insurgent activities going on, so which will lead to the threats to that region, which will lead to the security compromise in that region. That is why that particular area will be regarded as disturbed area. So who can regard a particular area as a disturbed area? Means, so it can be recommended either by the state government or by the home ministry himself can notify that particular area as disturbed area. So what is that? Either home ministry himself can notify that that particular area comes under disturbed area, or that state, for example Nagaland you take, or Assam you take, that state recommends to the central government that to declare this area as a disturbed area. Then that particular area will be declared as, notified as a disturbed area, and this AFSPA comes into act. Okay, once AFSPA comes into act, what happens is these forces will be having special powers. So what is the special powers? Means without any warrant they can go and search that particular area. Okay, and they can arrest if the people, if they feel that they are suspicious, then they can arrest those people. Then even if they are going against any law. Okay, so if they feel it is very threatened, then they can also fire upon them. Okay, such powers will be given to these forces. Okay, that is why Armed Forces Special Powers Act. Okay, the next important one is where and all it is present right now. Okay, this will keep on changing, but now it is completely present in Assam. Okay, completely present. AFSPA is enforced in Assam, then completely present in Nagaland, then it is present in parts. Okay, it is present in parts. Where it is present in parts in Manipur. Okay, Manipur where means except Imphal region, except in Imphal municipal corporation area, except in municipal corporation area, entire Manipur is there, except municipal corporation, except what is this Imphal municipal corporation area, entire Manipur is there, as well as it is there in parts of Arunachal Pradesh. Okay, Arunachal, it is present in parts of Arunachal Pradesh. Parts of Arunachal Pradesh, where areas which comes under 8 police station over there, and other 3 villages which are bordering the Assam. Okay, which are bordering the Assam. These 3 areas are where these areas are where AFSPA is present. Remember that Assam fully present, Nagaland fully present, then Manipur except Imphal municipal area, it is present in Manipur, as well as Arunachal Pradesh related to bordering areas of the Assam. Okay, parts in the Assam. Got it now? So this is where the AFSPA is present right now. Then next one, coming to this, what is called as integrated battle groups. Okay, these battle groups are newly formed, currently formed. Here comes under current affairs. What are these means? So these are the forces which can deal with any threat, any terrain, and any task. Okay, so they can deal with any threat, whether it is coming from the land, air, okay, water. Any threat means they should be ready. Okay, any terrain, okay, whatever the terrain it is, okay, whether it could be desert, whether it could be, you know, mountains, whatever the terrain it is, they should be ready. And whatever the task if they wanted to perform, okay, so related to army, navy, air force, whatever the task is, they should be ready. Okay, they should be ready in for all this, and they should be able to deploy within 12 to 48 hours on the location. Okay, so they should be fast, and they should be all round. Okay, so such we want to have such battle groups. So that is the meaning of creating integrated battle groups. Okay, so what are the integrated battle groups? Are brigade sized, agile, self-sufficient combat formation. So recently, you know, three such integrated battle groups were created first. Okay, first three such integrated battle groups were created along Punjab and Rajasthan border, so mainly for what we will do, we will to deal with the Pakistan. Got it, no? So that is about the integrated battle groups. Okay, and the next one will be other forces. So what all the four forces are left out? The forces which are left out will be, first one is National Security Guard. Okay, National Security Guard, when it was created, this was created in 1984. So where after Blue Star operation, and our late Prime Minister Indira Gandhi died, so at that time we felt the importance of creating the National Security Guard. Okay, so this National Security Guard is an allied counter terrorist and rapid response force. Okay, so this is the one which comes into action first, force which comes into, you know, rescue. So where suppose I hijack of that particular place occurred, okay, hijacking or rescuing the you know, hijacked people. We can see even in the Mumbai attack. Okay, 26/11 Mumbai terror attack, when it occurred, so NSG had come from Manesar to Mumbai. Okay, but however, you know, when they wanted to come, so it became a bit delay. Okay, that is why now NSG is having other regional centers also, okay, for the fast deployment. However, so we cannot ignore that they are the rapid response force. They are trained to such level. Okay, they are the allied counter terrorist operation, and they are the rapid response force. Okay, and in this NSG it includes a special ranger group, so which will provide protection to India's VVIPs. Got it, no? That is about the National Security Guard. Then next, coming to the Special Protection Group. Special Protection Group is the one which gives protection to the Prime Minister as well as the former Prime Ministers and their immediate family members. For example, wife, it could be husband, or children, parents. So okay, the security is provided to them. And recently there was a Special Protection Group Amendment Act, okay, 2019 Special Protection Group Amendment Act, which was passed in Parliament, where it declared that, so once the Prime Minister leaves the official residence, then SPG will be given to them only for 5 years. Okay, from the date when Prime Minister leaves the official residence. Okay, SPG protection both to the Prime Minister as well as former Prime Minister as well as their immediate family members. So it will be available only till the 5 years from the date Prime Minister leaves the official residence. Okay, that was the amendment made. Otherwise, even what is it? Sonia Gandhi family was also taking this, say, SPG protection. Okay. Then next one coming from next one will be here. See here, Special Protection Group means the special forces will not be created here. The people will be drawn from other CAPF, okay, and other state and central forces. The next one will be Railway Protection Force. The Railway Protection Force is the one which is charged to protect Indian railways with the Indian passengers security. Okay, then you know, related to railway properties, giving protection to them. They will be having the power to arrest, they will have the power to investigate, okay, charge. So all this powers will be there with this Railway Protection Force. And the next last one is National Disaster Response Force, NDRF. Okay, so NDRF was created in 2005. So when a tsunami occurred in 2004, so India felt important that we need to have a dedicated force for that. Okay, so that is why NDRF was created as per ND. Okay, National Disaster Management Act. Okay, then here National Disaster Management Authority is also there, which will be headed by our Prime Minister. Okay, so Prime Minister, there also we saw that Nuclear Command Authority was headed by Prime Minister. So the departments or authorities headed by Prime Minister will become very, very important. Please go through that. Okay, even Space Department will be headed by Prime Minister. Atomic Energy will be headed by Prime Minister. Nuclear, that also we had seen. Okay, so here National Disaster Response Force will be headed by Prime Minister. Population, okay, related to population, that is also I think headed by Prime Minister. Please go through such departments and authorities. Okay, and here also no dedicated force will be there, but forces from the Central Armed Police Forces will be drawn to dealing with the disaster. Okay, disaster response. Okay, hope you got some information on this. Okay, basic forces, what are there? Special forces, paramilitary forces, and CAPF forces. Okay, all these are very, very basic information. I don't think it is up to the level of UPSC asking question, but somewhere it will be useful for us. Got it, no? Okay, try to do this do's and don'ts. Thank you very much.